Guilty Gear Exar. Rev 2.
Yeah, what's up, Bob? Let me open this up for later. I'd open up YouTube anyway, but gotta open up the music I always put. I never really decided if people would rather have background music on these, like a light background music, or if they would rather have them to no audio so that they can listen to the audio with music they want to. But I kind of ended up hating like how it feels to stream without this shit. Damn, that's loud. So ultimately I decided I want audio, so there's background audio now, and it saves to the VOD. I guess technically I can have music without saving it to the VOD. I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll ask people what they would rather have. It just seemed awkward not to have it. It's the Evo France top 8 stream. I gotta save this. I gotta go back. Wait, spoilers though? Did Big Left Cook? Sonic actually entered as another team. Oh, Wawa, my goat. My goat. Did he win? I'm just gonna spoil it. I don't care. I don't actually care. I just want to know what Grand says. God damn, this game is long. Alright, it's Wawa versus Noon. My guess is this could go either way. I'm glad that Noon performed well. I think people were sleeping on him, so it's cool that he's performing well. We're not sleeping on him. He was not like mentioned as a favorite. So yeah, I'm glad to see that he is at least in grands of this. Damn, this setup is tiny. They have them like on the floor playing this. They're not like on the stage at all. That's crazy. All right, let me skip ahead a bit. Steve, you're off. Got to root for Wall. Word. Have you played Noon in Strive? Is that what it is? I don't have any Strive bias. Though technically, if I had bias, isn't Noon still SoCal? No, he's not anymore. He lives on like the east, I think, right? I think he used to be SoCal or something like that. Oh, the goat! I'm just skipping ahead. Wawa did take it. Let's go. I can't wait to go watch that shit. He's so good, bro. What does he do on Oki? Oh, I guess he just kills, doesn't he? Alright, whatever. Let's get to the designated VOD review of today. No, you gotta tell your story next time. Oh no, okay. I'm down. Alright, then never mind. Fuck Noon. Fuck Noon. Alright, opening up the VOD. Setting some stuff up. That's all it takes, man. If somebody I trust tells me like, I don't know, I kinda gotta believe them. Yeah. I more so just meant that it was nice to see them perform well because a lot of people were like, who's gonna win Evo France? And it was like Hikari, Wawa, or like Leffen. And I was like, you know, Super Noon's going too. Like, they're pretty good too. That was all I really meant. Yeah. Alright. Alright. Let me open this up. The chill news for me is you are the only submission this time around. So I'm big chilling after this. Alright. And is this shit loud for the stream too? Yeah. People would think that maybe like I would feel some type of way, I guess maybe. About like you got milk today? No siree, the timer's still on. I'll give you a little extra time if you want. But I actually like when I don't get a lot of submissions. Not that I'm implying not to submit, but it's just cool because like I do them bi-weekly, so it's nice when they're like more chill. You know, I'm not opposed to having like 7 of the submissions, which is like the actual number that it could be. But it's cool when there's only like 2 or 3. It seems like 2xKO slowed down. Yeah, I do get my day back, yeah. Like I love bi-weekly VODery. That's the reason I do it. I don't do it for any other reason besides that. Alright, we're all set up. Let me see what you picked for what to pay attention to. The Infinite Tsukiyomi? Oh no, I got bad news for you, man. If you're coming to me with requests about what to do about Dizzy Okazeme, I don't got a lot for you. This one's a tough one. I do have stuff for the Nooch though. That's her gimmick, man. It's unfortunate. I'll give you some tips, but there's a couple things to consider. Reset on the fire bubble, yeah. Stuff like this. I mean, I'll pause more because we kind of do have time today. I'll keep the timer on because it'll give me a general metric for this so that I don't go like too far over. I also just don't like to make these long, man. Like, you know, people also have shit to do in the day, so it's like 35 minutes is a good bar to shoot for in general, you know. All right. But we'll keep an eye on it. I was gonna say, so like situations like this are tough because it's like if you don't, Dizzy actually requires you to instant block like quite a bit on some stuff. And it can make things pretty hard if you don't, because you'll kind of fall into situations like this where this is just a true block string, right? Once you get to here, to this, that pop is a true block string. I think if you instant block, you can make a gap off of the far slash before it happens, but it kind of depends on the timing. But once that happens, the pop is guaranteed to give her this summon for free. So you're actionable right now, but generally all Dizzy players really, well, all he really does here, because all he really needs to do is he jumps and he presses a button afterwards. Because your only way out of the groundfish is to jump. So if he covers that, you just kind of have to hold it. Like, ironically enough, one of the better responses here, depending on, like, Soul has a decent response in this context, is you can press far slash. Because you'll smack it the summon before it hits you. But he usually banks on people being scared and jumping out, and then when they don't, they laserfish like a second later and you're toast, right? That's usually how that works. This setup is actually interactive depending on how he decides to median your resources. We'll talk about it some more in the actual like training mode part. But know that if a Dizzy corner setup involves starting with the ice fish and then doing a tiger knee bubble, like a tiger knee fire bubble, you're probably cooked. There's probably no gap in that if he does it correctly. There is a gap if he messes it up, but if he does it correctly, there's like no gap and there's no point in interacting with it. I mean that, by the way. Like there's no point in interacting with that setup. It's not particularly good for most characters. Soul might have some stuff. I'll check it, but you're looking for Okazeme that looks more like this with other summons is like where you'll get points of interaction basically. It's 2D. Pick up. That's kind of high. Boom, boom. Takes the guaranteed burst point. Yeah. And then, I actually think that Soul has some pretty decent options here. Dizzy offense, when she doesn't really have resources, or even when she does, like, her offense is good, but there's some pretty crucial instant blocks that are nice. We'll also talk about this. Let me bust out my notepad before I forget to write some of this stuff down too, real quick. ID back. And then the Nooch, I'll see what he goes for, but I kind of have like a general idea on what I like doing. Soul actually has some pretty good movement for Dizzy neutral. It's just hard because Fire Bubble gives Soul a really hard time. From what I've seen, Fire Bubble is kind of a menace versus a lot of what Soul wants to do because it it really cuts off the ground as an option, and he relies on that a lot. Nice pickup. Boom. Keep it simple. Yeah, Dizzy's a weird one. Dizzy's probably a good character to lab. This is like homework for you to do, but you might want to lab some like okie timings on her because it's tough to. No, actually, this is fine. Playing regular strike throw is a lot safer than safe jump RPS. Yeah, this situation comes up a lot, and we'll talk about it. It's part of the reason why it's hard to stay on the ground as Soul. This situation comes up a lot versus Dizzy as some characters. If you're sort of like a more ground-based character, Dizzy air dashing back at this spacing is always like a red flag. It's always a really bad situation. So Okazema like this is interactive. It just depends how he does it. Because if I'm not mistaken, he gets a lot of this. So he gets a lot of his stuff off of sweep, and Soul wakes up a little faster off of sweep than other people. It gives him potential leeway. Like, I think this setup, you might actually be able to blitz it and get out of it. But I'll take a look at it too. Dizzy has some pretty common starters. So you don't fuck with this Okazeme. Like, you just don't. This Okazeme is virtually untouchable. I've looked at it. It is really hard to get out of this if you don't have a very specific tool, which some characters have here and there. Like, some people have ways of getting out of this, but it's usually their... yeah, 21 is a little faster than normal on face down. A lot of characters are like 24. It's not much faster, but 21 is like decently fast. Because I think Baiken is also 21. She's like 21 or 20 or something like that. But yeah, so he does this, then that pops. I have noticed, if they mess up, I mean, don't like make it your whole game plan, but if a Dizzy player messes up, there's a rhythm to this pattern every time. If you instant block the explosion here, not the fish bite because they happen like back to back. If you instant block the explosion here, it'll sometimes produce a gap that lets you blitz this fish hit, and it's always when Dizzy does the mix-up. So she will get proximity rejected. Like, she will get the reject from the blitz as it's happening. But the only way I've ever found to get out of this is you instant block that, the bubble explosion, and you blitz the fish bite before he performs his mix-up. And you'll get a reject. Hard to do consistently, and also not necessarily guaranteed if he actually makes the setup correctly airtight. And he can still bait it, so it doesn't feel great. Wow, that was too snow. Word. But yeah, again, interactive Okazeme point on 2D. You don't have any resources. What I was gonna say actually is like I don't faultless defense Dizzy that much personally. Whenever I fight her, I don't think it's as helpful as keeping her close to me. I think Dizzy usually wants space. The only time she's scary off of not having space is for strike throw stuff. Oh, this is spooky. Yeah, I was gonna say this is spooky exactly because of that option. Whiffing when she has 25 is rough, man. Alright, I'll try not to pause as much. I want to talk about some more stuff in training mode, so we can talk about the situations. Yeah, bubbles are tough. That setup is, like, pretty airtight, I want to say. Oh, small, I'm not trying to pause as much, but small note. This is one of the situations I do try to pay attention to, like, how I faultless defense. So I'll block fish regularly, but when it's Dizzy's turn, I'll try to faultless defense Dizzy out of the way. You can't faultless defense the fish, but you can faultless defense Dizzy. So when she does her staggers with ice fish, I do that. That is one of the times I try to faultless defense Dizzy if I can help it. Yeah, so again, this setup is like unfuckwittable. Like, you like almost never can like get this consistently. I think Soul DP sometimes catches it. He opted for like just ice fish, but like I want to say for the most part, if you see it, I don't know how consistent it is. We'll take a look though. It might be like chip DP where you can at least force him. Yeah, JH is tough. You might be able to force him to have to pick a different setup as a 50-50. Yeah, that situation again. It's hard to disrespect. Nice. It was a preemptive good plan. He'll probably back off how much he does it in that situation. He'll probably do more air dash back bubble. Or not, I guess. Yeah, we'll talk about bursting Dizzy too. I think there's only really like 2 or 3 good burst points versus Dizzy. They're good burst points though. Like I usually just look for them. Um, but bursting Dizzy in a nutshell is like usually really limited because of the nature of her combos. I think that was 2? No. Oh yeah, it was. It was the first 2. Yeah, this situation is tough, man. I'm gonna talk about it, but like, this comes up a lot. That exact air dash back that he did comes up a lot. It's really hard to play around. Yeah, and this is the setup I was talking about. I honestly am not like too sure how Soul consistently gets around this. I think 5k might have been fast enough. It's really hard to get around that bubble setup once it's out for Soul because it occupies such a large space in front of her. Nice idea. I like it. Oof, that's scary. Jump. Oh, he didn't jump, or he's gonna ice spike. Yep. Once you see Soul 6H there, it's really tough. I don't think you can do anything about this if he IB'd this without bar. I actually am not sure. You maybe could do like Grand Viper fast enough. But I want to say all your special cancels are too slow versus Ice Spike YRC. That's a tough one. That's like actually just... There's a reason I don't really like ever 6H Dizzy. It's because it fucking blows afterwards. It's hard to get away with it if they know what they're doing. Because it's like you lose all ability to change your offense. Like stagger timings are the only things that are going to keep her from just doing that shit. But when you see 6H, it's tough because you lose any Gatlings after. It's obvious you have to special cancel, and they're all too slow. Except maybe Grand Viper. I don't actually know. 6P. Nice revolver. Yeah. Was that meaty? I don't think that was meaty. Oh, it definitely was meaty. Ice Spike knockdown. Yeah, it was close enough. You probably would have gotten clipped if you tried jumping. One thing I will tell you, and you'll probably notice it, is like Dizzy just has a repeat. She has a lot of patterns in her offense, and you have to learn to recognize them. Like they're, it's annoying because she has like quite a few of them, but they're the same patterns that can like come up, right? So like he did Okazeme, you block it. Look at what he does after, right? So he gets a knockdown. He goes into Firefish and he does Fire Bubble. He's already done this before. The Firefish meaties you. Then he runs up and he presses a button. 2K is usually the button. It's the only thing that reaches and it's a low, so you might as well. Well, I guess 2P reaches, so that's not true. You can press 2P a lot of times. Doesn't matter. Button, far slash, it's gonna pop now. Like the explosion's gonna pop. This is from earlier, remember? Like this was before when he saw you blocked it earlier. He gets to far slash and he does summon again, and then the bubble explodes, and then he jumps with the summon, and then the summon forces another mix-up. But if you get hit, I think he just does sweep, and then the bubble pops, and he does like a different Okazeme setup, I think. Yeah, he does like fire pillar into Oki, right? And then he does this. Ice Spike YRC makes that guaranteed. The setup is really hard to fuck with. My guess is that Soul can DP the other setup if you do it on Wake Up right away, because he's opting for some other ones every now and then. Which tells me that Soul probably does have a little bit of leeway on it, if I had to guess. Not like so much that it's really good, but probably enough that like he has to think about it every now and then. That's tough. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I hate when that happens. I spike. This is always tough because I spike and because of that. Alright, I'll talk about some stuff. Keep the timer on for me so I know where we're at. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, let's make sure. Oh my god. What did Milk send me? Alright. Oh, I closed my notepad. There we go. So, there's a couple things to go over. The Infinite Tsukiyomi, like I said, is kind of tough because you don't get, like, you honestly don't get much leeway versus Dizzy on a lot of setups. And he's pretty smart about not picking greedy setups on characters with DPs. What I was gonna say is, like, a general easy to apply thing is, or like way to think about it probably is, if you're getting swept, which is how she's knocking you down, usually in the middle of the screen. Sometimes no though. Like if sometimes you'll get knocked down by like a fire pillar or like an ice pillar, and I think those are generally more plus than her sweep because these will knock you down face up like this. I think, or no, are they face down? I guess they're just better because they knock you up, and she's actionable like as you touch the floor, I guess. But I guess what I'm getting at is like, when she goes for these, I don't fuck with it as much. On Oki, when she gets openings off of stuff like this, I tend to be more inclined to guess if it's a sweep like this. There's a couple summons that are not like, I don't want to say they're not legit, but the idea is like they probably won't meaty you, right? So like if she knocks you down and you see firefish, or not firefish, fire spear like this generally doesn't meaty you. See? If you notice, it doesn't actually meaty soul. This is not like a hard rule. I'm sure he maybe has an Okazeme setup that does it. But like off of sweep, for example, if Dizzy knocks me down and I see this, Dizzy has to meaty me. Like, Dizzy has to do it, not the... She recovers fast enough to do it, but she has to meaty me, right? So, like, a really common situation is something like this. And you'll find this more, like, being a thing you could probably abuse with other Dizzy players, is something like this, right? So now, like, if I hold up, Dizzy sweep will usually catch me. Well, that's the thing, is you can low blitz it. You actually can RPS with this situation with Dizzy. Because I just want to get the timing real quick. Oh my god, you gotta do it like right away. You can. It'll reject Blizzy. It'll reject Dizzy on the hit. Okay. I didn't realize how early I had to do that. I think that's probably it. Close enough. So like, if I do this, it'll actually kill the setup. The only reason I warn people about guessing all the time versus this is that it's a lot of Dizzy defense is only good maybe once here and there. It's never good as a game plan. Her Okazeme is too versatile for you to find something and rely on it constantly. Because you only get so many opportunities versus Dizzy, it's not a smart idea to just gamble all the time if you can help it. The reason I say, like, you gotta be careful doing it all the time is because the adjustment is really obvious for them. He just does this instead. And you blitz it and you get fucking owned because he does ice spike and it's a mid and not a low. So you can do that. He can even do, if he's close enough, he can still do run up 2p, but he has to be close enough to get it with Dizzy, right? Like she has to be reach. But yeah, like low blitz is fine actually. This is like one of the few Okazeme setups I'll like tell people about to like mess with it, where it's like, yeah, if you know this is coming, like just blitz it and you'll get out of that setup. Again, just be careful. She doesn't have to blitz you. She really doesn't. Like, it's only decent as a why not kind of thing. And then you abuse the fact that it probably messes up whatever zoning pattern they usually do. Because a lot of the times they'll just like press sweep and then summon a fish, and then you'll get hit by ice spear, and then they'll do a combo off of it. Or if you block, then the fish is out, and now they do the next mix up. Like, a lot of Dizzy shit is pre-canned. That's like, I would never call it a weakness. It's not really a weakness the way that she's designed, but a lot of it is pre-canned, and like it makes it easier to at least recognize situations as you get used to it. But I would say try that. If you see this setup, it's fire spear, or sorry, it's firefish into this, right? So firefish should be a meaty pretty much, or like close enough that it's like, I think it'll catch you jumping. Yeah, so this setup is one of those where I think Soul actually can like wiggle out of it in a weird way, because he usually does this, right? So this setup, if he does this, is a cross up, right? A lot of the times a Digi player can opt for cross up, or what they'll do is they'll stay same side, like this, right? And so they'll call a bubble and then they'll stay same side. Now if you block cross up, And it's not like really reactable. There's maybe like a way to like fuzzy guard against this based on timing. But it really shouldn't be like too reactable the way it works. But it is like decently interactive, I'm pretty sure, especially for a character like Soul. I think you can hold up and blitz versus that setup as Soul. Give it a shot. I think it has to do with your wake up timing. If he doesn't meet you, I think you can hold up and blitz it, and I think you'll get it like no matter what. Don't quote me on this. Dizio Kazema is not a one-size-fits-all in terms of solutions. You can JP there? No, because you're getting meaty. Like, you're getting hit by the laser. That's the whole reason you kind of, like, have to blitz to begin with. You kind of have to blitz. But I think he wakes up fast enough that you can do... you can get... You're banking on the reject to catch her. And you're just holding up because, like, you'd probably do it anyway since it's not a meaty fish. But yeah, I'd say try that too. Try that on this setup. Those are like decently common Dizzy setups in the middle of the screen. It's like sweep into Fire Spear, into like a meaty, into like other summons. He was doing a lot of like sweep into Fire Bubble, I think is what it looked like. It was kind of hard to tell. And then sweep into Laserfish, like the Fire Fish. And then he left right too, and you can do this and try that. Those are pretty solid. It'll at least get him to do, or like get Dizzy players to hopefully do more stuff like this, right? Which is like standard, like safe opening type of stuff. I want to say that like if they're opting for stuff like this, I mess up the spacing or the timing. These are really weird to time. Okay. Alright, so like if I want to say if they do stuff like this, I think it's decent to do like this is what I usually try to do is like I'll block here and I'll faultless defense when it's Dizzy's turn on hits. If that makes sense, like the rhythm that she goes at, I'll faultless defense her so it pushes her out and makes it harder to use the fish each time. This is like one of the few times I beat Dizzy most of the time. Is like I faultless defense her here. So I would say like if you see Ice Fish, like try that. And it kind of helps. It's also like it's not the worst idea to DP on Ice Fish as Soul, but you need to find a gap is the hard part, right? Like normally they don't really leave too many gaps except for when they want to throw. But like Volcanic Viper's 2 hits up close, which helps destroy a fish and hit her sometimes. So if they run stagger pressure, I would say try a DP here and there. It's pretty good too. One of the situations I want to talk about is this. You got to be careful when Dizzy, whenever you basically want to train yourself in neutral to recognize when Dizzy is in this situation. Kind of doesn't matter how she gets here, by the way. It just has to be around this distance, more or less. Maybe a little closer is okay too for her. But she has to be like kind of slightly off the ground, like right here. It doesn't matter how she gets there, right? There's some pretty normal ways that she'll get there, right? Like something like this is a pretty common way to end up in a distance like that. I guess we'll do it off of close slash to show it, right? So like this distance is the same distance. And the thing you have to be careful about is that she has what I call the anti-air. So when Dizzy does this, she can always opt to air. Let me actually record it so we have it. She can always do this, and this thing is so hard to stop. It tends to go under a lot of anti-airs around the timing that you would react to it. Like the setup isn't as good. Actually, I probably should do it off of far slash for that reason. Let me see. Yeah, this is a lot better. So, like this situation, like this is so incredibly tough for people that rely on anti-airing all the time. Is like you'll do stuff like this and it's not like super consistent on the timing. If you're slightly off or you press the wrong button or you miss it even slightly, anytime Dizzy is in this situation, like you can try to anti-air her, but I think it's really hard. I would honestly say it might be a better bet to do jump punch anytime you see this come up. Like anytime she gives up this situation, I think JP will like clip her on the way in if she commits to it. Like that, right? The reason for it is like there are some distances where like if he's like here, say, and he's just like moving around and he does this, it is so hard to stop that. That hits you crouching. So like, you would think like I will just crouch because most things at this distance in the game do not hit me crouching, so it's safe. But you can't do that, right? Normally you kind of want to move and crouch a lot in Exerd because it's pretty solid as an option in a lot of matchups, but not versus Dizzy. So when you see this, just like tell yourself to do rising JPs some more. It seems like it's pretty good. Her JK hits really low. Again, it's the reason why like normally crouching here would be good versus a lot of characters. But if you crouch, she'll get a knockdown. Basically, anytime Dizzy air dashes back in that situation, you think she's gonna JK, just off her rising jump punches like this. A lot of the times what she'll rotate is she'll do a bubble like that to kind of like set up a bubble and then get free summons. So if you're wrong and you do the JP, it'll look kind of like this, if I had to guess. Oh wait, wrong button. Oh my god. So he'll do stuff like that, right? And then I missed the jump heavy, but the idea is like he'll pop it and then he gets stuff, and you're kind of in this situation, right? So now you had to deal with fire bubble. That's the RPS of it. Usually, if he starts to recognize that you know how to deal with air dash jump kick, he'll rotate to getting free summons instead, and then it's up to you. Like, you can chase them down if he opts or something like that, like, and you know he's gonna do it. You can chase this down, but I don't think Dizzy's a character that you want to go toe-to-toe with, if that makes sense. Like, you winning that is not equivalent to Dizzy hitting you with jump kick, I think. Because when Dizzy knocks you down, she might win a round off of it, you know? That's what's frustrating about fighting Dizzy. Is you have to really pick and choose when you feel like it's appropriate to interact with her. And the fact that this is about equal in terms of like, yeah, he could pick this or he could pick that, I don't really think it's worth it. That's why I say like maybe just do this. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Again, if you see this setup in the corner, I want to say generally it's like pretty safe. You can test DP versus it versus some Dizzies and see if maybe they don't hit it. The setup is also a huge pain in the ass to get. Let me see if I can get it. Because I need to be closer. I guess I have to be like... Oh, I guess you can't do it if I had to guess. Because if he can't do it... Like, if he has to be in range... Oh, I guess you could do it with jump H, actually. No, I'm capping. I'm capping. You might still be able to do this setup. I probably should have had these pre-recorded. I didn't think about it. I was playing 2XKO. Let me see. And then he pops it. Let me see. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. It takes me a second to remember how this setup works. Oh! Okay, you gotta do a slightly higher tiger knee. Oh! These are so frustrating to get airtight. All you gotta know is like... I'll show you the one I'm thinking of. So if they do this... This is a much easier version of this setup. Where like... The fish... I think I got it. The fish should hit you meaty. I was a little slow on it. Let me try again. Because it's soul sleep. What? Hold on. If I do it immediately... Oh, you can be too early on it. Okay. I'm surprised. Okay. Okay, that was pretty good for the beginning. That's all I really care about. I missed the air dash, but... So, like... This hits meaty. See how this is like... This is all a combo. Like, none of this left a gap that was, like, notable, right? What I was gonna say is, like, he might reach. So, Chip's DP reaches here. Souls doesn't. Okay, that's what I was wondering. You could try Blitz into DP and you might catch the farce, the jump S. No. So, you actually can't really fuck with this setup either. Chip DP can because of the horizontal distance. But what I was gonna say is, like... So this setup, a lot of the ways it works is like, I'm gonna hold up once I block. And like, you see how it was all airtight until the fish hit? It's because that's just like how it works. If there's gonna be a gap, it's usually here. On that last fish bite, if there is a gap, it'll be there. And you can get, god damn, this timing is annoying. It's like even later than I think. Like that. So that blitz reject is like the only real thing I've ever found for it. I would say if you see that setup, right? Ice fish, fire bubble, pop the bubble, air dash, whatever. Don't worry about a lot of the beginning part. That shit, in my eyes, is like all noise, like that you can tune out because you can't interact with it anyway. All you really got to tell yourself is the moment the bubble pops, right there, the bubble is exploding. You want to try your best to instant block that bubble and then, as a gamble, try to blitz the final fish fight. You can try to do that. That is genuinely the only like counterplay I've ever really found to this setup. And they can do it tight enough that I don't think that setup even like has that gap all the time necessarily. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Those are like the most common Dizzy Okazeme setups for the most part. The other thing I was gonna say is, let me see, Dizzy neutral. I was gonna say mostly boils down to like be careful about this option. At any time, oh dude, I gotta like disable Steam. I keep pressing a reset button on here and it keeps like pulling a menu up. Anytime you're kind of in this range versus Dizzy and she's floating around, anytime at any point she could do this. So I tend to hang out like around this far when I'm fighting Dizzy. Or I try to be in the air some more. Being on the ground is tough because anytime she's moving around, she can do stuff like this. So like if I'm on the ground, boom, knockdown, right? Like it's really frustrating to play the ground game versus Dizzy as Soul because you're not really like Far Slash is never really gonna hit this option. And that's usually your go-to like footsie's normal, right? So it's like if you're just trying to place the nooch and you're like, I think he's gonna land, and he does air dash jump kick, you lose that interaction. You lose so much value as Soul trying to play like a grounded Far Slash game versus Dizzy that's already in the air. That I would say like you have to kind of like jump some more like this and like feint approaches from even farther than normal, at least until it seems like the Dizzy is more inclined to summon. Like, does that make sense? A lot of it rotates around that option for Soul, I think, is he has to be really careful about that jump kick. Mostly because he never clips it. Like, this never hits it in the air. Some people have Far Slashes that hit it if they're already out. He doesn't. So you have to be more careful. You can try some more 6Ps, but it's spooky because you have to do them really preemptively, like this, right? Like, I have to 6P now. Now is when I 6P. Like, I can't really do it later or he hits me. See, like, if I react to the air dash, I lose. So I have to do it based on position. Like, oh, I 6P now, and it still might not work. See, like, the timing on this is kind of brutal. You can still try to do it, like, and see if you can nail one of these, but one, it's really preemptive. You have to do it just because she could air dash JK, which is tough. That I don't really think is worth it. I think you're better off just like hanging out in the air, and if they're gonna opt for shit like that, then they'll run into things like this at least, right? And so now like you pressing bullshit in place like has a reason to work, because now you can do stuff like this. Damn, that still trades nuts. Or you can do things like, right? But hanging out in the air is good so that you make Dizzy. You kind of play cat and mouse with her. You want to be more kind of in the air if she's kind of in the air. And then once she's kind of on the ground, you also kind of want to be on the ground a little bit more, if that makes sense. Because once she is on the ground, yeah, this button's still good. And you want to be careful because Dizzy has this 6P and she has this 2S. So you don't want to hang out in the air all the time. Right? It's more just if you want to avoid the jump kick. I think that's like a general rule. I also think hanging out versus Dizzy around here is pretty alright. You try to avoid full screen. If you ever accidentally end up full screen too consistently, she's just gonna get free summons. But if you run in, you're gonna get hit for free. So hang out around here. The last thing I'll say, since we're kind of like running out of time, is Dizzy offense is not actually as scary as people think. Oh, the other thing I missed out on is last thing for sure about Dizzy neutral is this option. Hey, what's up, Simblane? Yeah, you play mostly Strive, right? So she's a whole different beast. She's one of the better characters in the game in this version, and in like Exurg. If you're doing a good job of hanging around Dizzy Ob, like around this range, you know, like over here if you're kind of scared of the ID, but like closer if you're threatening summons on the ground, you're gonna notice that she can do shit like this. Like if she recognizes that you're chasing her down and you're gonna catch her, she can rip this. So like you almost want to like preemptively bait it out. because you know you don't want to block this like this. Like if you're running her down, you don't want this to happen. So you want to do things like this some more. Just get the 25 bar out of the way, but don't block it, you know? So if you kind of recognize that the Dizzy is panicking, you want to recognize that you should usually FD break or stop your movement around here, let them waste 25 bar, and then go from there. A lot of the times they'll get a free summon out of it, which is kind of annoying. So much bigger than you think, so when you try, you still get hit, but that's a good point. Yeah, Dizzy players tend to be kind of telegraphed when they do this, and it's fine, that's not a problem. This option is so good, there's not really, like, good counterplay besides avoiding it. So a lot of the times they'll get this summon no matter what. Or sorry, they'll get this Ice Spike and they'll just summon, like, right away, and you kind of let that happen, and that's okay. Oh, I didn't cover it. He didn't do it much in neutral. I almost forgot. If you see this setup, it's a pretty common setup with some Dizzies. Is just, they'll do something like this. Because you'll block this, and then you'll block the spear. So for like a Dizzy player, something like this is like really common. Right, and now you're getting schmixed for trying to like hold the ground, see? It's a good habit to do this. Is to like, you try to jump like right when laser procs, and then you try to like air dash back, and to avoid the ice spear. There is a timing for it. I want to say it's like here? Might be farther away. Damn, this is a really good setup. I like really nailed the timing on this. Generally my advice is like, just try to avoid being on the ground if you see this coming or they keep doing this. Blocking this isn't great, but it's not the worst. It means you could probably land in DP sometimes. But you don't want to block this hit. It doesn't usually leave like as much block stun the same way for you to get away with stuff. That's the only thing I have to say about this. If you see this setup, know that it is usually better to do this, especially because if they're slightly off on the timing, like let's say I do it a little bit slower like this on accident, this will be a better example for showing what I was talking about. If I do this, or maybe actually it's because I did it slow. The ice spear tracking is not perfect, is kind of like what I'm getting at. You can bait the tracking a little bit. I guess that's like a good way to do it. It's like neutral jump, super jump like that too. And so now I don't block either of these. And if you get tagged by laserfish, it's never like a combo, so it's not a big deal. Usually you kind of want to try to bait the tracking to like a positioning that you're moving out of, but it's kind of hard to do it. I gotta look at the timing a little bit more. I think it's once Ice Spike spawns, you can move, yeah, like that. Once you see the ice spear like actually appear, it's alright. And then you can double jump out of it like that, see, like you can jump and then jump back. This is like a nice setup to know how to like be comfortable versus, because they'll usually do it. But yes, I was mentioning that because I was just talking about like the Dizzy pressure, and I was saying that a lot of the times if she's spending the bar in neutral, it means that like her pressure is generally not as oppressive. Something that is like nice to check a Dizzy player with is, so close slash is only plus on regular block. If you instant block it, I usually try to avoid telling people to instant block anything. In fact, you can still try to avoid this if you want, but I strongly recommend learning how to instant block Dizzy close slash. If you instant block this button, everything after it always has a gap. She cannot make this gapless. So if you do this, for example, you can always get something like this. Oh my god, I gotta do it a little later. See? Right, which for a character like Soul means you can always do this. If you instant block close slash and you know that they're gonna do a block string, you can always get a DP out. It doesn't matter what she picked. I think the only thing she can do is sweep and it's a true block string, maybe. But the idea is no Dizzy player is doing close slash sweep. It feels awful to do that. So you don't really worry about that option. But yeah, like if she picks 1, 2, 3 with far slash 5H, same thing. There's always a gap here. There's actually a gap here normally sometimes if they stagger. But there's always a gap there. Blitz is a pretty stable option here. It tends to catch a lot of what Dizzy's doing. And then sometimes Dizzy players will start to do 2H so that if you're, say, like, pressing a button, right? Because this is minus. If she does, like, run up stagger like this, is minus. So you can press a button like that and you'll usually win. Oh wait, I should press a different. I shouldn't press 2P there. They usually don't press 2P. But even if they do, it's fine. You can just press 2K and you'll still win a lot of the times. But yeah, the takeaway is, like, if you notice, I being dizzy close slash is pretty good. It generally forces her to react in some way. Again, like, a lot of things are like, if people are mashing on Dizzy when she does her staggers like this because they're getting the IB, then a lot of the times Dizzy players will stagger this option instead. And now you die on the trade. She usually gets a knockdown off that trade, right? But with something like Soul DP, you can basically just, if you you instant block it, you can rip DP. And unless they block after close slash or air dash back after close slash, you should just win. In fact, I think you can get away with SDP specifically. And you might be like, why SDP? It's because you probably don't want to be a sitting duck in case she does this. Right? She might still get a punish there pretty easily. But you want to be careful because she can always air dash back. But air dashing back is one of those things where sometimes I'll just chase it down. Or either way, like, getting a person off of you is not bad, right? Even with Dizzy. Like, I know that playing neutral versus Dizzy sucks, but if I've convinced a Dizzy player to back off, that's like more than enough for me. Does that make sense? So yeah, instant block, there's a lot of like little things to her offense, but I think specifically instant blocking close slash gives a lot of opportunity to do things. You can also just backdash after it. If she's staggering like this, you get the IB. It's like fairly consistent to get a backdash here. If he doesn't do a real block string, you can usually backdash out of a lot of offensive stuff. Maybe not Soul though. I think his backdash is a little too slow for this. You have to like figure out how to get out of here. But yeah, does that kind of give you maybe like some better ideas on like what to look for versus Dizzy? Again, oh, I didn't give you burst points. Last thing. So I talked, remember the setup I talked about where I said it's not a good idea to like interact with this because on average the risk reward is not in your favor. There is actually one thing that is like pretty decent, and that is let me do it like this. Okay, cool. Good enough. So let's say you get hit by this. If you see this setup happening, you can also burst right there. You can burst the moment Dizzy does her mix-up. So like right here. Like that. And despite how despite that not seeming like a good idea, it actually is not that bad an idea. By the time you're bursting, usually the fish are either like pretty much gone in general, or more importantly, Dizzy is doing the mix-up. So if you burst the mix-up, then she'll get hit because she's doing something. Like she's either doing the instant air dash right now, or she's doing the low right now. And you can kind of burst your way out of that Okazeme, like out of that mix-up. That is actually a pretty solid burst point. It'll get her to not always do her mix-up there. Or it'll get her to go low more frequently. So it's not that bad. Bursting Dizzy mix-ups is in all the ones I talked about where she's like air dashing onto you and doing shit. They're not that bad. Like if you're bursting a Dizzy mix-up when she is doing the mix-up, it's not that bad on average. It's actually like pretty okay. The other one that's guaranteed is 6H when they're doing combo extensions. If they're ever close like this and they're doing an extension with like Fire Pillar, you can always burst like the moment this hits you. You don't want to do it far away because it can hit from like here and it won't get bursted. But whenever you see this button in combos, like the charge one into the Fire Pillar, if he's right on top of you, or they're right on top of you and they're doing it, you can burst this hit as it goes into the Fire Pillar and you'll hit her. That's like a pretty common one. Another one that I'll do sometimes is you can burst Dizzy Sweep a lot of the times if they're not like pushing you omega far, even though it doesn't really seem like it. Like once you see the button that you know is gonna lead into sweep, so like, oh, far slash is gonna go into sweep, I'll do on far slash, I will burst into it. Like this, right? But I will wait until I see far slash or close slash or whatever bigger button is probably going into sweep. Dizzy kind of has this pattern in my eyes of like, if they're trying to keep everything burst safe by doing an air dash mix up into punch, 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 kick, sweep, and then they do the mix up, they did like 10 damage. Just don't panic and burst the mix up instead. If they don't want to do real combos when they can do real combos, burst the mix up instead. Right? Because they are trying to put you in the infinite Tsukiyomi, where you can't burst on wake up. You can't burst because they hit with a delayed air dash and they're doing a bunch of punches afterwards in the sweep. You can't burst the fishes. So it's like they're trying to get you to never burst. So usually you can burst like when mix-ups happen. Again, like if you look close at this setup. Oh, let me do it off of close slash. So like again, I'll show you what this looks like. Like I'm gonna pause when I burst and you'll see why. So the reason that you can burst here is the way fishes generally work is like, I don't know the full science of it, but when fishes protect Dizzy, it's because something hit the fishes and Dizzy like at the same time. So the fishes kind of take priority. Or they're literally just in the way. But a lot of the times when Dizzy does the mix-up, she is like in front of the fishes, and they will still get the burst will work. What's up? Alright. Sorry about that, Ob. My brother had to ask me to do something. See, like, even if they do a burst safe high mix-up, it's still fine such and advises them to go low. Yeah, pretty much. Like, a lot of Dizzy mix-ups are not, they're not actually burst safe, is what it boils down to. So, bursting the moment they have to do the mix-up. Don't do it too early or you will die. Learn where they're doing the mix-up. I burst here, like, quite a bit versus Dizzy. And then the 6H is pretty good, and then, bursting the button before they sweep. Not when they sweep. If you burst the sweep, it's not gonna work. You have to kind of learn to burst the button that goes into it. It's usually like far slash or close slash are like pretty okay to burst. But yeah, that's like, those are like the main things to like look for versus Dizzy. Dizzy to me, like I'll give like kind of like a closing thought, is a character where you want to try to avoid RPSing with her if you don't have like a solid backup plan, or if it feels kind of like even Stevens, like the thing I talked about with the air dashing, where it's like the reason I say to avoid it and opt for something kind of safer, where like you're still catching the air dash with jump punch a lot of the times, but it's not obviously as high reward as like an anti-air, is because this is just safer. Like, you can't take risks versus Dizzy. She just wins if you do. You have to try to avoid taking risks until they're finally like good value, you know? Like, the way I would put it is like, you already kind of have to take a lot of risks on your offense as Soul. So you want to try to make it so like, if you're gonna get knocked down from being wrong versus Dizzy, you want it to be after they block 2p, you know? Like, at least there was an equivalent thing here. Like, I'm down to potentially be wrong as Soul if, man, I got a wild throw, you know? That's just the life that Soul Bad Guy lives in this game. That's the takeaway, basically. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to ask like a quick question, we can do like one question if you want. But otherwise, we were past time like 10 minutes ago, pretty much, more or less. I don't have anything to do. It's just I do like to keep these brief. I think at a certain point, too much more information is too much information. But yeah, just let me know if that sounds good to you. Is there any reason to just blitz Icefish? Just hold after? Does it make her mix up worse? Not really. The thing about... So, if you were to say, like, blitz an Icefish, the only reason you would ever really blitz it... Wait, are you talking about this one, Ob? Are you talking about, like, this setup? Or are you talking about in general? Because if you're talking about the blitz here, this one's just guaranteed. If you get the blitz on the final fish bite, it should give her the reject. If you mean more so like this, like that, then these are different. I think these just boil down to like, if you were to say blitz a fish here versus Dizzy, right? Yeah, if these, it doesn't really like lessen the mix-up. All it really boils down to is if you blitz, you can try to DP afterwards, but it doesn't really change her mix-up at all because the fish still essentially accomplished its goal. Firefish is a little better to blitz potentially because you're only blitzing the one hit, right? Like that one setup I told you about where you do this as Dizzy. This is a little better just because like there's only one hit there. If you do it versus setups like this, it doesn't do much for you. There we go. Because it's only the first part. Like, the fish is still gonna keep going, right? Icefish in particular is not that meaningful to burst if you're not immediately DPing and it's gonna work afterwards, right? Like, there is situations where you can try it. But it's kind of like here and there. Does that make sense? Like, the fact that it keeps biting you is the reason why it's not great to blitz if you're not gonna just pick something right away. Like if you did this and you do that, that's a waste of meter. That does nothing for you. It's not a good idea. But you can try this, like blitz, reversal blitz here into DP is like not the worst idea because you have 2 hits on Volcanic Viper. It might work is the way I would put it, but it's risky, right? Again, it's very risky because Dizzy can see the blitz and then opt to not press a button or something. But I would say it mostly just boils down to that. It's a lot better to blitz Firefish than it is Icefish. Laserfish hits are only 1, so you might actually get something done blitzing them, but it all kind of depends on the Dizzy Okazame. Instead of stand blitz, I just figure it's one of those things where I'd rather just hold up. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. I think you can just do tap blitz if you want. You can. It's up to you. I figured I would do this in case it doesn't reject her for whatever reason. Like if for whatever reason they don't commit to let me see. Can I hold up? No, I can't. So like let's say I do this. Because, like, Dizzy can do her mix-ups kind of however she wants. So, like, let's say I do tap blitz and she does this. Because I'm like, you know what? I learned that I can do tablets on this, and then she does that. Then it's like, oh, that doesn't feel great, does it? When I do that, I'm just like, oh shit. Like I'm kind of banking on the proximity reject there. Or in my head, if I was doing this, or actually, I'll show the one I'm talking about. So like, if I'm doing this. This is a bad example, but it's kind of trying to get my point across. If I do this, I should be able to do what I think I can do. Let me see. Oh my god, this is a weird timing though. It's actually easier to do it as a reversal. At least I don't get knocked down from Dizzy. She can't knock me down off an air hit. And then even better, let's say she just doesn't pick anything for whatever reason. Like she's just like watching you. Right, like she's like, oh, he's been doing like wake up blitz, so I'm gonna wait for it, you know. Not that they would do that. Really, the reason I was doing it is so that if I get hit, I'm at least airborne. Dizzy can't knock you down off airborne hits like that, which is nice. If I'm grounded, I'm a sitting duck. Damn, you might actually be able to FD out in time, but that seems kind of hard to get. So like, let's say I do this. You have your air actions after doing an air blitz, so you can still double jump and air dash after it. Right, like it's still accomplishing essentially the same idea where it's getting me out of a mix-up if she does like the cross-up 50-50, and it'll reject her if she gets close, but I'll still be actionable afterwards. So like, let's say she waited for whatever reason, it'll look kind of like this. Dizzy class in session? Yes, sir. It's a little bit safer. It's accomplishing the same goal. Right. Yeah, it's just like a small minor thing is like, if I can get hit in the air versus Dizzy as an option, I'll take that over getting hit on the ground. It means that she probably didn't knock me down. She can. Like, far slash into this on an airborne hit is still a knockdown if it's low enough to the ground. But scrambling versus Dizzy is a lot better than just getting knocked down. But yeah, I would say that's pretty good if you're cool calling it there. A little bit, probably like a little extra 20 minutes or so on the session. But yeah, she's a tough one. I think at like the highest level, it's probably harder for Soul on average than Dizzy. I think just because he has to guess, and the neutral can be a little tough. But I think like early on, especially if you kind of learn to challenge certain things like I showed, it's probably pretty chill for Soul, just because of the damage output versus Dizzy's that are not as refined. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end my stream for like a little bit. I might come back in stream. I told somebody I might teach them some 2x KO stuff, and I asked him if he'd rather have me stream it or if he'd rather have me like Discord stream it. So finding that right hit is hard, exactly. But yeah, I'm just gonna cut the VOD here. Like I said, I might be back in like a little bit. I might not be, but I'm gonna cut the VOD regardless because I gotta upload it to YouTube. But yeah, anyone that I always mention it. Anyone that's curious, I do bi-weekly VOD reviews. I don't charge money because that would be weird. Next one should be in 2 weeks, but I'll post it on my anytime, Mob. Google Forms look like this. Don't submit to this one; it's already closed. I post them on bluesky on the app Bike and Player tag. Usually like every other Monday because it's bi-weekly. But I'll usually post if I'm not doing it that week too. For anybody that's ever interested. They're like 35 minutes long on average. They're pretty chill. But yeah, that's it for me on this one. I'm gonna cut it here. You guys